Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg at Cloudcast Media. We're doing a special edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show here at San Diego Humane Society's 38th annual Fur Ball. We're brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades. I've been doing great things in San Diego County. I am thrilled to have a longtime friend and colleague sitting right next to me, Assemblymember Brian Maienschein. How long has it been since we've seen each other?
Oh, my God, Drew. I was thinking back. We met probably about 25 years ago.
At least. The thing is that is so irritating about Brian, he doesn't age. He looks exactly the same over here. And I've always looked old in this aspect of it. No, I've known Brian when he's been doing just so many as city council person, and you were at United Way, and everything you touch, you just do great things in the community, and I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Drew. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's so true over there. Joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She is the executive director of San Diego Riders, Inc., celebrating their 20th anniversary in Liberty Station. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
You got a big shindig coming up next week, right?
I'll plug it if you'd like. It's October 10th. It's on Thursday at 6:30 to 8:30 at the Lightbox Theater at Liberty Station, where we are also located. So we'd love people to come down, and it'll be a good evening.
Good. You got a question for Assemblymember Mainschein?
Yeah, let's just get into how many years have you come to this event?
Yeah,
What can you tell us?
I've been here, I believe now, this might be my 12th one.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
Yeah, and I love it. I mean, I do a lot of work with them throughout the year. I actually have an adoption event that I put on with them.
I saw that, yeah.
with San Diego Humane Society, and we love that. I mean, we've gotten so many dogs, cats, rabbits, you name it, adopted. Right. And it's just such a fun feeling, to really see, and it's cool too, because then later down 2 years later, a year later, I'll run into somebody and they'll say, I adopted a dog at the event you host. You feel so kind of a connection with people who get to do something like that.
Yeah, and how did that start? Is that something you initiated, or?
It is. It's something that I've just always loved animals. I mean, it really is very simple. And then then I got elected to office, and I was in this position where I was like, I can do something about this now, and I have. In my time in office, I think Drew knows this.
Right.
I've done more bills on animal rights than anyone, and it really just comes out of. Wasn't a set plan. It was.
Right.
It was just what I care about.
Absolutely.
And so it's been cool, and so that's where it started. And then I was like, well, what else could we do? So we did that. We've done donation drives, where people bring in either new or gently used. Pillows and whatever else
things that are needed for the pets.
And then things, just being cognizant of whether it's, for disaster relief, any of those other things where, pets have needs too, right there. And that gets sometimes forgotten. So those are some of the types of things that I've loved working with the Humane Society on.
Yeah. And again, Brian, he's got his footprint on so many great things on it, and no surprise with the animals as well. And, with it, and what a perfect place, the San Diego Humane Society with Gary Weitzman. I don't know, you put him, he hates when you talk about him like this. So we're going to talk more about him like this, so you get irritated. But he's done such an amazing job. His team is phenomenal. What a great partner. Talk about how wonderful these guys are.
Yeah, they are. They're incredible. Gary does such a good job. I mean, he's an amazing guy. His passion is clearly here. He's helped build this incredible organization. And I tell you what, you come out here to work with them on the adoption event. From Gary all the way on down to the volunteers, you have people here who are so passionate, who are working so hard on this. Every one of them it really has just been incredible to work with. And the one thing that shines through is how much they love and care for these animals, and they love and care for the community.
Listen, we were talking about this earlier. The adoptions are so critical. There's never been more animals in shelters. San Diego is no different than other places. how important it is to have someone like you get behind, folks, we really need to do something about this.
Yeah, what I wanted to do is, utilize my network out there to bring maybe different eyeballs to it, or different people who might not have seen something that the Humane Society put out themselves. Sometimes, and this isn't just true of the Humane Society, it's true of everybody. Sometimes they're preaching to the choir, right? Mm-hmm. They're talking to people who already care about animals or who already are involved with Humane Society. This is a way for them to branch out and get some new people involved, and that's always a good thing.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
Absolutely. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you're listening to a special edition of the Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are here at the 38th Annual Fur Ball of the San Diego Humane Society. There'll be 700 people here, maybe 700 animals. I don't know. It seems like there's about 700 animals chatting with Assemblymember Brian Maienschein on the phenomenal work that he and his team have done, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She is the Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc. We're brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, just doing great things. Brian, I know this is something that's near and dear to your heart. I've known you for a long time. And supporting those groups that are dealing with domestic violence, is way up there on the millions of great things that you do. But talk about how important that animal bond is for those people that have suffered from that.
It is. I learned something that's really tragic. I learned that in domestic violence situations, the family pet becomes an object of the violence. It's so appalling to hear that. But if you think about it from the abuser's perspective, that's a way to further harm the victim. And so before I got a law passed that would include animals and family pets on restraining orders. It used to be you could not put the pet on a restraining order. Believe it or not, couldn't put an animal on a restraining order.
Wow.
So you could keep the violent perpetrator away from the victim via a temporary restraining order, but you couldn't do a restraining order, full-time restraining order, but you couldn't keep them away from the animal. So now you can. Just something simple like that. And imagine if you think about that. There's like a great example right there of something that has a huge long-term effect. If you think you're a little kid in a domestic violence situation, and now the one thing you could count on was your pet, right? Yeah. The one thing that you had that was stability and love and kindness and decency. Can you imagine then the pet then becomes, God, how awful. So anyway, so that was one of the things that when I started looking into domestic violence and where that intersected, that was really kind of shocking to me. It was something I hadn't thought about, but wanted to change, and we were able to change it.
But it's also something, too, I think, for the community. Like, we value our pets so much that we are going to extend those protections to them as well. That says something about us and how we value animals.
You're exactly right. They're part of the family.
Yeah.
We shouldn't view them as something, that's not... they're just as beloved, and all of us take them in, and we treat them exactly like they are a member of our own family. And so to act like, well, somehow they're not included... I think is wrong. And I agree with you. It's sort of taking a little larger mindset on how we treat and how we value animals in our society.
Absolutely.
Well, and you can really look at a region, a city or a county on, what type of region it is and how they treat their animals. Yep. Whether it's, pets, whether it's goats, whether it's wildlife. As you know, the Humane Society does a great job. We're going to talk to one of the wildlife veterinarians after you, Brian, and so forth. And when you see that this community cares about animals, that means a lot.
It does.
And no surprise at all. Again, you've been involved in so many of these things. I also want to bring up how important it is, the animal bond with seniors. You have always been the top of your game when it comes to seniors. Sadly, I think our country could do a much better job taking care of seniors.
Yeah.
I'll say that. And two, the fact that the largest growing, you know this, Brian, as does your colleague Lance, that seniors are the number one growing part of homelessness. And but talk about that human-animal bond with seniors.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we wanted to do was make sure that landlords allowed pets in the home, so people wouldn't, and also didn't have people kick people out of housing just for having a pet, right?
Right.
People won't leave their pets, right? We just talked about it earlier here, again, because we view it as members of the family. Well, that shouldn't affect your housing opportunities. And so we did things to make sure that you don't have to risk homelessness because you want to stay with your pet.
Yeah.
No way. Your pets, you wouldn't ask someone to leave their pet anymore. You'd ask them to leave their son or their daughter.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we did several bills on that to make sure to protect not just the homeless. It's not just the homeless population, but it's people. There's a lot of people in San Diego who are always floating on the edge of homelessness. One paycheck away. I mean, There's a lot of people like that. So you shouldn't have to think about the animal in lieu of, well, I got to choose between housing and the animal. No, we don't want that. We don't want someone to get out on the street because they're caring for their animal.
Well, and I appreciate it. Kristen, as you can tell, Brian and I have known each other for a long time on this, and Brian has always been there. What can we do? What haven't we done? In this area, he's been fortunate enough and certainly well-deserved, to be able to be in a political situation to do these good things over here. So I've always been, appreciative of that aspect of it. How many animals do you have?
Well, so I have a rabbit. My daughters have a rabbit. I used to have a dog. Unfortunately, my dog passed. Oh. So I was kind of recovering from the dog. And then, as I have to, in the current gig, I have to go up and back to Sacramento.
Right.
So it's a little rough. But I tell you what, now that I'm back in San Diego full-time, I'll be talking to Gary shortly, maybe even this evening, about bringing home a puppy.
I can tell you from having him on the show several times, we've made all sorts of deals. I'm sure he would extend the same to you if you found someone tonight that you needed to bring.
Good. I may have to talk to him.
Yeah, please do.
Well, Gary was saying earlier, he said in a couple of these interviews that I said, well, how many people are adopting animals tonight? Oh, no, they're available for this. And so, maybe he'll make a shout out from we have Assemblymember Mainschein in there, and he's going to adopt 15 rabbits and 14 dogs and a few goats while we're at it. As you know, when you were growing up, did you have pets as a kid?
Oh, of course. Of course. Of course. They were just such a part of my childhood. And, I think that was part of, and then when I got older and lived in an apartment, moved out of my home with my parents, lived in an apartment, that actually is how I got a rabbit, right? Because we couldn't have a dog in there. Yeah. So we had a rabbit. Great, another great pet that a lot of people don't think about as, something they can have. They're great. They're very smart. You can train them. They get house trained. I think I brought all that to the legislature too. Just my happy memories of that.
There's no question about it. So, Brian, what can our listeners do to help support the great efforts that you're doing in the Humane Society?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. On the political level, I think it's important to note that political issues do arise. There's a lot of things we can do to protect animals, and I think knowing that is good for people to think about, because oftentimes people think politics, that's just people screaming at each other on TV. Frankly, I think that most of the time too. But there's a lot of things you can do at a kind of smaller level that really are kind and decent and beautiful and loving. And I think a lot of those, those are the favorite bills that I have done in my time in the legislature, because they're beautiful, right?
Well, listen, I'm a little prejudiced when I say this because we know each other for a while, but really thank you for your service, from city council to assembly member to everything in between, and continuing to do great things. You're serving for the right reasons, and you always have in this aspect of it, and we can't thank you enough for your great support of this event, the Fur Ball, and we'll look forward to having you back on, chatting about other cool things you're doing.
I can't wait. Thanks for doing this. It's so cool to see you guys out here again, and have good luck the rest of the evening. If you see me walking out with a dog, you know that I gave in to Gary. Yeah. Wish me well.
We have to have you back on.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Assemblymember Brian Maienschein. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You've been listening to a special edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We're here at the 38th Annual Fur Ball. Our Spotlight Show is brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades doing great things in San Diego County. We hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.